guys, I'm excited about today. I am indoors. The wind is about 20 miles an hour outside, and I know good and well it's hard enough to hang on to these papers in the midst of a nice day, much less in a day when we have winds at 20 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour, and cool winds at that. But we are going to get through this lesson today in Nehemiah chapter 4. We're going to be in there talking about the renewal of America. You say, well, Ryan, this is about the renewal of these walls, the rebuilding of these walls. Well, we've been talking for months about the renewal of America and our need to get back involved in our courts, get back involved in our government, get back involved in our schools, get back involved in every facet of society. Right now, if you happen to watch this years from now, then you'll remember the fact that our nation started a march toward socialism in many areas of our government. It's been a long and steady march, but I know that it's been amped up, ramped up, all those different things as a matter of politics over the past few years. And now we're in the midst of such a battle across America to see godly values and even constitutional, good constitutional values back in America. And it's a tough road. But God expected it to be tough. God intends for it to be tough, and He intends for His people to fight very hard for this nation. I hope that as we go through these next few verses that you will again begin to see the pattern that's involved here. That is that God's people begin a movement, and after they begin that movement, then they have opposition, and with that opposition, then they have to learn to trust, and in trusting, they learn to move forward and to fight the fight and to win the fight. Here's the thing. One thing, whatever's going on in your life, whatever problem that you're having in your life, let's get away from that national politics for just a second. Whatever is going on in your life, it is going to be an ongoing battle. You're going to have things that are coming at you. You say, well, listen, I want to defeat this, or I want to defeat this, or I got this in my life I'd like to beat. God will help you do that, but that doesn't mean you're not going to have another battle, another fire you're going to have to put out very, very soon. It is a constant work with the Lord, a constant trust with the Lord. It does get easier in the sense that He allows you to walk in faith with Him, walk in trust with Him. You've seen Him come through time and time again. And so in a case like this, you see, in a case like the country, then when you finally get there, you have been through so much with God, and He has taken you through so much that you know that, yes, I can win this battle, and I can win the next battle, and I can win the next battle, and ultimately Jesus Christ is going to win the war at the end of time. But what we want to know now is, can we live a life of victory? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. But it is always going to be some type of a fight. We call it storms when we use this cliche, but you are either just coming out of a storm, you're in the middle of a storm, or you're going into a storm. You're one of those things. You're easing yourself into one, you're already into one, or you're coming out of one. You're always dealing with it, and God is always to be trusted to help you through those things. The more you have navigated through those storms, the more you have navigated through those battles, the better fighter you're going to be. You come out on the other side of it, hopefully not beaten down, downtrodden, and not trusting God. But on the other side of that, having defeated the enemy, having won, realizing that He won on the cross, and taking that victory and fighting from that point and saying, I already know how this ends, and I plan on winning. That's the way the nation ought to be too. We have a constitution. We have a constitution that I believe was given to us by God. It's not God-breathed in the sense that our Bible is. It certainly has its flaws. People have their flaws. But I'm telling you, folks, the Constitution, the Lord allowed people to form this Constitution, and something I'll be talking about in just a couple of hours in a sermon. So just for a few minutes, I'll be talking about those very founders who gave us the Constitution, and I am so excited about that as we have a Thanksgiving message today. Let me say this, we're easing up on it. We're easing up on Thanksgiving. I hope that, you who are watching will pray for our church as we are beginning a process of working with some other churches and other people and volunteers with our Families Feeding Families. We're going to be feeding thousands of people, and we're excited about that. We're excited about taking those meals to them, those Thanksgiving meals to them on Thanksgiving Day. I hope you'll be praying. Our church was very, very generous with an offering, and there are tons of people and companies around our area who also give to Families Feeding Families. We're thankful for that. We hope that you will continue to pray for us as we continue to work diligently for the Lord and for those people who need those meals. I'm so excited about what we're able to do because of your faithful giving. So continue to pray and continue to believe that God is in the midst and he is going to do some great things. For where two or more are gathered in his name, there he is in the midst of them. As we get into the book of Nehemiah, what I want you to understand is this. We are going to begin to see some characters in here we talked a little bit about. But I want to just reach right inside of the camera here, and I want to tell those people that are watching today, whether you're whatever you may be going through, whatever your battle may be, that a lot of these things, a lot of the things that are being said here, God is trying to convey to us that is the same thing you're going to be going through there. He knows that there are people coming against you and people who are doubting what God can do, and he wants you to be strong in the midst of that. So let's do this. Let's go into the Word of God. I'm excited about the Word today, and I'm excited about what he has for me, just to be honest with you, what he has for me from these verses, and of course, what he has for you. So let's go into that together. Okay, Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 1, it says this. It says, "But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall, he was wroth, and and took great indignation and mocked the Jews." Here's again, it doesn't matter whatever you're trying to do, and maybe you own your own business, maybe you're working in a job, maybe you have these ideas that just came to you, you'd love to pursue. I don't care your age. There's not an age limit on dreaming and visions. It's simply this: if God has given you something, move forward in it, because he desperately wants you to trust him through the process. Okay, so Sanballat, he's kind of ruling over some of these Samaritans and such. He's kind of one of these guys that are kind of heading up these folks, and these Samaritans look to him for leadership, and he's wroth. He is so upset. Now, a lot of what he's doing is on the inside, because here's the thing. He doesn't even believe that the king has given them permission. But he's kind of staying back a little bit. He's saying, look, maybe the king has given them permission, but this is ridiculous because I know all they're doing is building this wall so they can come against us. So he's so very angry. That's why when you see on the news media, now I'm making the comparison, but I know there are several hundred different kinds of comparisons we can make, but I'm making this a comparison with America. When you look around at liberals and all that they're trying to do, and I don't call them liberals anymore, when you look around at the socialists and what they're trying to do with our nation, that they've destroyed every other nation in the world, and so now they're trying to destroy this nation. When you look at how angry they get, the reason they're getting angry is, and they get angrier and angrier, is when they see things going in the right direction for us and away from socialism. So as we see patriotism, folks, let me tell you something. Israel was in love with its people. Israel still today is in love with its nation and its people. It's okay to have patriotism, understanding that we have a responsibility to help where we can, do what we can, all those things like that. But here's the thing. To know that we love our nation that God gave us, that God gave us this Constitution. We can love it and we can stand by it because here's the thing. We don't want foreign influence to come in and destroy what God has given us here. It doesn't mean we don't want immigrants, legal immigrants. We certainly don't want floods and floods of migrants coming here and destroying the nation like they did in Europe. Europe doesn't look anything like it used to. It's nothing like it used to be. They're trying to just mix peoples across the world to get this power, this world system in place to totally and utterly oppress human beings. When we begin to fight against that, the devil gets wroth. And what he means by the devil gets upset. Sanballat, representing the enemy here, he certainly was the enemy of Israel at this point. He is ticked off because things are going their way. Things are going the Jewish people's way. And right here, he begins to accuse them. He begins to mock them. How many times have you had a thought, maybe you thought coming from the Lord, or maybe it's just He's giving you the creativity to think up something, or think up an idea, or think up a ministry, or think up something that you may want to do. It can be as simple as where you want to go that night, but it can be as complex as an invention, as a business, as any of those things like that. And people come against you and say, that is really the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That's crazy. I don't think so. Or you just be honest with yourself. You could fail. You could fail. Folks, one of the biggest and best things that could happen to you is a few failures. And then you can move forward with your idea in another direction. My goodness gracious, the oldest analogy, it seems like, from the late 1800s is the story of Thomas Edison, the fact that he failed almost 10,000 times trying to figure out the filament that would work within a light bulb. And so here's the thing, you're going to fail. It's okay. It's okay. And here is Sanballat. You guys aren't going to do squat. Okay? You guys aren't going to be able to accomplish anything because we're going to make sure you're not able to. Hey, and look, here's the thing. Look in America right now. Look at what's happening across this land. As they say things like this, they say, you're not going to be able to have gatherings just coming up on Thanksgiving. You're not going to be able to have more than this many people in your house. You're not going to be this, which is just full of garbage. It's just garbage. And so they keep doing this thing, and what it does is it so suppresses you and it so oppresses you that you're like, oh my goodness, is there any hope? There are suicides galore across this entire world because of this lockdown, because of this stuff that they are doing and pulling people away from one another, and people having such opposing views that they end up fighting one another and battling one another across the lands, knowing that hundreds of thousands of deaths that have happened from COVID, many of those hundreds of thousands, if not over 100,000, were misdiagnosed. People with other diseases, people with other sicknesses, people with other things. I just read a CDC article on this very thing, that over 100,000 of their diagnoses were other illnesses, heart attacks, bacterial pneumonia, stuff that happens otherwise, that happens without the COVID. But because COVID, a COVID diagnosis gives hospitals more money, it's like, obviously it gives you a reason to write that down as such. And folks, I'm going to tell you, there's not going to be any investigation into that. There's not going to be any of that stuff. It's just going to be people out there disagreeing with one another about what they call science. Okay? And here's the thing. The science are the facts sitting there right in front of you, that climate change is garbage, that this whole lockdown is garbage. It is a sickness. It is something our people have to be careful with. If they already have some underlying conditions, they need to be careful. They need to be where they are as safe as they possibly can be. But as far as a national lockdown, it is the most ridiculous garbage ever. And to look at what's happening across our land is just a precursor to them saying, hey, with climate change, we got to have some lockdowns with climate change too, because during these times of lockdown, it has been so good on the world and so good on our environment that we need to have regular lockdowns on a regular basis. You wait and see, it's coming. It's coming, folks. And Sanballat here represents all that is evil, and he looks at them and he begins to mock them, and he says, why do you think you're going to be able to rebuild? Why does the church of Jesus Christ across this land believe that revival can come in the midst of all that's happening? I certainly hope you do believe that. But why, if it's not everybody, why is there a remnant that believes we can rebuild the walls in America? Why do you believe that? It's because of this. I have seen time and time again in the Word of God where God's people were up against the wall and absolutely at wit's end, where God came in, brought revival, changed spirits, changed time. And not just revival like we know of, where we read books about this revival and this one and all these different. I'm talking about revival where the Holy Spirit comes in and changes an entire area, an entire place. And here it is right here. As it said this, it says, but it came to pass when Sanballat heard that they builded the wall, he was angry. Oh my goodness, when you hear that somebody is doing something great, does jealousy get into your heart? I mean, no, it should never be there. Does the thing get inside of you? Does it begin to do things inside of you that it just ticks you off? You're like, how can they do this and how can they do that? Not only was it jealousy for Sanballat, because he kind of ran that area. He loved to see the rubble. He loved to see the stones on the ground. He loved to see the gates on the ground. There are people out there who love to see America suffering. They love to see this country suffering and being at its bottom, because they think somehow that makes them morally superior to see that America is suffering as a result of all that's going on. And this is the same type that Sanballat is, and that's what he has been doing here. He was angry as he could be. He was mocking the Jews. He was calling them foolish builders. I mean, these guys are trying to rebuild. These gals are trying to rebuild. These families are trying to rebuild and do what they can. Every little section that they can get together and do these things, they are trying to do what they can to rebuild a nation. And here it is. He said, "You foolish builders, what do you think you're going to be able to accomplish with all of this? There's no way you're going to be able to do anything of any significance." Okay, now let's look at verse 2. At verse 2. Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 2. "And he spake before his brethren in the army of Samaria and said, What do these feeble Jews? Will they fortify themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they make an end in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of rubbish which are burned?" Now here's all the mockery. Here's all of this. He's asking the Samaritans. Sanballat goes back and asks the Samaritans, and he asked them some major questions. I'll preach on this one day. I really want to, because I think these 5 questions are very, very central to a lot of people's lives, okay? The devil asking the same questions about your life and about the direction you're going, about America, about what direction America thinks it's going. But I want to center in on you for just a minute, and the nation, as we go through these questions he just asked. So he gathers up all his Samaritan folks, and he says, well, all of their leaders rather. He gets them all together. He says this. He says, "Look, we're gonna have to stop this mess." And then he begins to kind of rattle them up. You know how you can ask some questions, whether it be a football coach over a football team, or a political leader over a group that's watching and he's doing a speech or something, or she's doing a speech or whatever. And you see all of these people out there, all this whole group of people out there, and he begins to ask questions. He'll say something like, "Well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about higher taxes? And what do you think about this?" And gets them all riled up. That's what Sanballat's doing. That's what Sanballat's doing. He's got all these Samaritan leaders there, and he says to them, he says, what do these feeble Jews think they're doing? And that just get them all riled up. Yeah, what do these feeble Jews think they're doing? I mean, it's just kind of thing like that. So what do these feeble Jews think they're doing? What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing stepping outside of your box? What do you think you're doing coloring outside of those lines? What do you think you're doing creating this business? What do you think you're doing creating this ministry? What do you think you're doing stepping outside where you're supposed to be? Well, this is a world that's done this forever. You know, it's a certain group of people that we put down, or we bring up, or we lift up this group, or we put down this group, or whatever like that. You know, whatever. And it doesn't even matter about race or any of that. What matters is you're taking I mean, it could be a group of black people oppressing black people, or white people oppressing white people, or whatever. All it comes down to is evil. All it comes down to is the fact that you look at somebody who has a dream and an idea and say, what the heck do they think they're doing? Why do they think they can get away with that? Who do they think they are? And that's what the devil's going to do with you when you finally say, I'm going to give all out 100%. I'm giving everything I got to Jesus Christ. When that happens, then the enemy's going to come in and say, what does she think she's doing? What does he think he's doing? Why does he think he has that ability? Why does she think she has those resources to take care of that? She doesn't have a clue. That's what Sanballat was doing here. The Jewish people are trying to rebuild walls and protect their city because they've been given the decree by the king to go ahead and get started. They've been given all that. And here's Sanballat. He's trying to say, hey, look, these folks are rebuilding this wall so they can attack us. That's why they're rebuilding it. And you know, there's some sense to all of that. I mean, people from Israel, I mean, they've attacked at times, and they were protecting at times, and they've done all those things. So I mean, there was some background to that. But here they were trying to rebuild after all these years and had the king's decree, so it wasn't a matter of them trying to do anything other than put up walls to protect themselves. Not to be on the offensive, but to be on the defensive. In case somebody were to come and try to take them over again and destroy them, they'd have some type of protection long enough to, for them to fight back. But he says, what do these feeble Jews, what do they think they're doing? And that's one thing the devil is going to do. He's going to ask this question. He's going to say, what do you think you're doing? Why do you think you can get away with this? And then he's going to begin to give you 100 reasons why you can't do it. I've looked at America and what's going on in America, and I've gone through the 10 or 12 or 15 reasons why it's over. Why it's done. We're done. We're just finished. It's the, the Bible says it in Revelation. You know how many people say this? The Bible says it in Revelation, Ryan, it's just the way it's going to go. This is the way it's got to go. Okay, brother, well, here it comes. Here it comes. They want somebody to tell them that that's not the truth. They just keep speaking it over the nation. Well, look, we have an opportunity to save what we've been given. And I don't want to be a part of the generation that he says, look, you're the reason. You're part of the reason. And I know I am part of the reason at this point, but I'm trying to change all that. But part of the reason that your nation is falling apart. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that, folks. What do these feeble Jews, why in the world do they believe they can get anything accomplished? The reason we believe we can is because we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. That means you can go through the good times. You can go through the bad times. This doesn't mean all the happy clappers. It doesn't mean I can just do everything. It means I can do everything through his power. I can make it through the hard times. I can make it through the good times. I can make it through the lean times. I can make it when I have abundance. I can make it when I'm sick, and I can make it when I'm well. I'm going to get through. I'm going to make it. Why? Because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The next question he asked was this. He said, will they strengthen themselves? Who are they to get stronger? Hey, you know what the drug dealers do out there, folks? Let's get real. You know what the drug dealers do out there? They come in, once they get you addicted, and then you decide, hey, I'm going to get off this stuff. They're like, hey, man, cool. Back of their head, they're like, what is he thinking? They think he's going to beat this thing. I know this drug. They're going to be back. They're going to be back. And it's like Sambalat says, what are they going to do? Strengthen themselves? They really think that they're going to get away with this? They really think they're going to get away with rebuilding this wall and scaring folks and making them believe they're coming after them and all that? Do they really believe they're going to have that possibility? What do these feeble Jews think they're doing? They think they're getting stronger? They think, and hey, listen, his crowd's getting riled up. They're like, no, they're not getting stronger. They're weak. And so that's just coming back, Sanballat with some of those sayings. And I know I'm taking a little dramatic license, but I mean, I just believe this is the scene you're seeing is Sanballat talking to this group of people, and they're coming back with them. No, they can't be strong. No. And that's what the devil's minions are doing today. America can't be strong again, and they're yelling it at the top of their lungs. They won't allow it. These socialists who are demonically possessed, who are coming in to destroy the very nature and very structure and foundation of our nation, should be stopped at all cost. Whatever it takes for us to stop, we must stop them, because they are a godless people. And I'm not talking about shedding of blood. I certainly hope we don't have to ever go to that. But I'm certainly saying we need to be fighting in the academia. We need to be getting inside of and infiltrating these areas like we talked about in the book of Ezra. We need to be getting inside of this in our nation and working as hard as we possibly can to see God's influence put back into the world again. He says, what, they think they're going to strengthen themselves? I mean, they think that they're gonna get something. They're gonna be stronger because of this. And here we are, Samaritans all around them. We're just gonna sit here and let them get stronger. No. We're not gonna let them do that. That's what the devil is saying right now. It's okay. It's okay when it's a lazy Christian, because the devil doesn't have a problem with you. Sanballat didn't have a problem with it. I mean, he may have had problems with it, but it was all verbal then, when they weren't building the wall. But when they started coming back to their land to rebuild and get involved in that area again, and rebuild walls and rebuild their temple and all that, he got ticked off. See, the devil doesn't care if you're a lazy Christian. In fact, he'd much rather you be a lazy Christian, because he can do a whole lot more with a lazy Christian than he can even do with an unbeliever. Because he can take a lazy Christian, and a Christian doesn't care, and a Christian is apathetic, and put them back into the system, back into that church, and begin to infect everybody else, almost like the yeast, as Jesus would say, spreading amongst the people, and that laziness and that apathy spreads amongst it, and I'm telling you, it can ruin an entire church. He would much rather have a lazy Christian. But then when that Christian decides, I'm going to do for God, and I'm going to be a part of renewing our nation and renewing our people and teaching our children and teaching our youth and teaching our adults and teaching our older adults, although when you finally say, I'm going to be a part of that again, that's when the devil's coming against you, and coming against you with every single thing he has in his arsenal. I can promise you. What do they think they're doing? Strengthening themselves? Well, what about the next question? He asks all these questions for me. You know it's being done in a chanting, almost, frenzy, as these people are all standing around. So here's the third question. It says this: will they give to their God? Will they give to their God? Will they sacrifice? Will they sacrifice? It says. Look. I'm having to close in on time. But here's the thing. Will they sacrifice? Will they give to their God? Are they gonna get out here and give their sweat, their time, their effort? Are they going to sacrifice to their God with these animals as such for their sins? Do they? I mean, an overall spectrum, if you will, of sacrifice. Everything that's involved in sacrifice: giving, sweating, working, tithing, all of these different things. They expect to come in here, they expect to rebuild, they think they're going to strengthen themselves, and then we're just going to let them sacrifice to their God, and we're going to let them sacrifice their times and their God and such. We're about to have to try to do something. We've got to try to stop this while we can. And that's what the devil will do. Devils try to throw these obstacles in our way and everything else in our way to try to slow us down, because he knows that for a lot of us, it's going to do that. These past few years in America, that's exactly what's happened to a lot of evangelicals. They have gotten apathetic, where they don't care, it doesn't matter to them what kind of government we have. It doesn't matter to them about our nation. They've learned to hate our nation through academia. They have learned to hate religion as such, and they've learned to hate all of that. For some reason, though, they continue to go and sit within churches and say they believe in the freedom that God has given them, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, and somehow the Spirit has left many of these churches and such. Here is our opportunity to sacrifice for the Lord and say, thank you for what you have given me in this country. Thank you, God, for all that you do for us, all that you have given us, all that you have provided for us, and we are going to sacrifice in turn. We're going to sacrifice our sleep. We're going to sacrifice our time. We're going to sacrifice our money. We're going to sacrifice our bodies. Whatever we have to do to put our bodies on the line to do your work, we're going to do your work. And I promise you, when God's people, having been on their knees and repented, getting up and on fire for God to do exactly what he needs and to sacrifice for him, we can get things changed. The enemy is coming against us. The enemy doesn't want that to happen. But are you ready to be a part of that movement across this land? God is ready to use you. Are you ready to be used by God? We love you. See you next time.